I grew up hearing all these stories about UFOs and watching different shows about UFOs and reading different books my dad had, because my dad had like every book you could think of, Chariots of the Gods. I knew who Zachariah Sitchin was before anybody even said anything about the Mayan calendars and the 2012 and all that other crap. We grew up listening to this stuff like it was fact. You know, it wasn't, is an alien real or UFOs real? No, they're real. The fact is we grew up believing that the government was hiding it. And, you know, some of us, like my other brothers, and I'm not sure about my sister, but, you know, we thought maybe he was crazy. Well, not crazy, but, you know, just overexcited about things you see, like little lights in the sky and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if my other brothers believed as much as I did, but I was kind of a weird kid growing up anyways. I grew up believing a lot of crazy things. Okay, my dad was a recruiter in the military, in the Air Force, and he worked in Indianapolis, Indiana. Well, he had this office, and this office was down this alley. Imagine an alley where you got a building here and a building here, and they're close together, and it's long that way, and then there's a road. There's long that way, and there's a road, okay? Now, his office was in the center, okay? So if you walk out of his office, you can either go that way or you can go that way. But it's still a pretty good hike, maybe a half a block each way, okay? So these two guys come into his office one day, and they look like bodybuilders. They're all strong and big, and they're wearing these black tight t-shirts, black shorts, black shoes, and black socks that come up to about the knee, okay? And but their faces look like maybe 60, 65, but their bodies look like they were like 25, 30 years old, built real good. And he was on the phone with somebody, and these two guys walked in and they said, can we get that notepad and pen? I mean, I don't know if those are the exact words, but they basically asked them for a pen and a pad. So they took the pad, and my dad was on the phone talking to somebody. I don't know who, because I wasn't there, but this is what my dad told me. He was on the phone, and these guys went and sat down. He's sitting there talking on the phone, and these guys started writing something down. And well, before he could get off the phone, the guys had came over to him while he was on the phone and said, use this before it's too late. And he's like, hold up a second. And he started to get off the phone so he'd go talk to these guys. But by the time he hung up, they were already walking out. So he got up out of his chair, walked out of his office, walked around, because it was like a window, I'm guessing. And they came to his window. He followed them around, and when he went up to the door, they had just walked out. He looked both ways, they were gone. Either they ran or they vanished. Don't know. But anyways, this paper, he went back to his office and he saw this paper, and it had all these numbers on it. And he didn't know what it meant. I mean, he's a recruiter. He really wasn't paying attention to it. Put it in his briefcase. Later on, looked at it and just thought it was weird. The whole situation was weird. And years went by, and he actually pulled these papers out, and we were all looking at them. But now one of our neighbors worked for a military installation. Now, I'm not going to say what installation because, you know, I don't want to out anybody or whatever. But this guy looked at the papers and said it was a schematic to like a motor or an engine, a giant engine or something. So he took it to his people, and they told him basically it's a schematics to a UFO, to build a UFO. Grandfather had the papers to build a UFO. Me and my buddy Antonio go up to New Hampshire to do some work, and we stayed at a friend's house that was up in the mountains. And he had his house here, and he had a barn here. And that night, I had fallen asleep on the couch, and Antonio was on the opposite couch where there's a window above him, and you can look out that window and you can see the barn. So it was maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I wake up, and I don't know why I woke up. I just did, and I got up, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking around, and I just felt funny. I mean, I was awake, and then I looked out the window, and I saw the barn, and over the barn looked like a big round black cloud. but it was like perfectly round, and it was really big. I mean, like when I mean over the barn, I don't mean like just over the barn. I mean over the woods, from maybe a football field length wide. Okay, and I'm just looking at it. I'm thinking, that is a strange looking cloud. You know, so then I walk over to the window and I'm sitting there staring at it. I'm thinking, that ain't a cloud. And Antonio's laying right there in front of the window. And I'm thinking, you know, I could wake him up and say, hey man, there's a UFO outside. I mean, what if it wasn't? Then I'm gonna look like a dumbass saying, waking somebody up at 3 o'clock in the morning telling them there's a UFO outside. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go outside and check it out. So put my shoes on and I'm still staring out the window. And this is how long that thing sat there. I had enough time to think about it, put my shoes on, open the door, go down out to the porch, down the steps, around to this side of the house, where that window is right here, and the barn is right here. I mean, it's maybe 20 yards that way, and then I look up, and I mean the trees are your average pine trees, pretty high up, and maybe the distance of another pine tree. And that's where the UFO was. On the side of the house is this big pile of rocks. And it's not like a pile of rocks that somebody put there. It's like it was naturally there. I climb to the top of the rocks and I look over the barn, and there's this big round shape. And I'm thinking, I'm like, is that a cloud? And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, clouds ain't that perfect and they ain't that black. And I'm looking around and it's still there, okay? And we're talking, this whole thing lasted maybe 3 minutes. 3 minutes doesn't seem like long, but it is a long time. So I'm sitting there on top of this hill, and I'm watching this thing, and I'm thinking, what is that? And then all of a sudden, it starts moving, okay? It starts coming towards me, and I'm sitting here watching it. Now, you know, growing up, I've always said if I ever saw a UFO, I would, if it was sitting there or something, I'd throw something at it, get its attention, and maybe they zap me up in the craft, and I'd beat the shit out of the aliens and take it and do whatever I wanted to do, or whatever. That's not what happened. Okay, what happened was I got scared. Okay, I sat there, and people say, why didn't you video it? Why didn't you record it? I had my phone in my hand, and why I didn't record it, I don't know. You don't think about that stuff. When this is going on, you think about what's gonna happen when they zap you into that craft and then chop you up, anal probe you, and you know, use you for dinner. You don't think about send me up there. You know, that's the last thing in your mind. So I'm sitting there and this thing is moving, and now I know it's a craft. It's no sound, no lights, no wind, nothing. And this is happening. I am outside looking up, and this big craft is coming towards me. And it just goes over me, and I'm sitting there praying, please, Lord, don't let them see me. Please, Lord, don't let them see me. I was scared. And it kept going. It just kept, I mean, it wasn't like flying away. It was like, it could have been a blimp. As it went over, I looked up at it, and it looked like, you know what carbon fiber looks like? The big squares, well, little squares on carbon fiber, but these were real big squares, and it was black. And it went over, and it just kept going and going, and just, I watched it. I wanted to scream at everybody in the house to come outside, but what was the point? Ain't nobody gonna see it. By the time they get out there, it's gonna be gone. As it went away, I didn't think about, oh my God, I could have died. I didn't think about, oh my God, they could have taken me, or, oh, why didn't I get a picture? Or why didn't I video it? All I could think about was, ain't nobody gonna believe me. So the next time I saw a UFO, and when I mean UFO, I mean unidentified flying object. It wasn't actually flying. This is my son, Seth. He was there. He was about 6 years old. We were driving from Missouri to Oklahoma. I was remodeling a casino in, I think, Buffalo, Oklahoma, somewhere around there. So it was probably about 10 o'clock at night, and we're driving down the road, and we see this semi, and there's, first we see sirens. There's like six vans, white vans. They got sirens going down the highway, and behind them was a semi. And on the back of this semi was a giant, what, you remember?
Semi truck?
Yeah.
A giant UFO on the semi-truck. I
Right.
remember. It was like that round, and we could see it covered with the giant blanket, but we could see half of it sticking out.
Yeah.
And we could see half of the saucer entering, like the stairs that come out. And I can remember that white thing on the back of the truck, and then I remember all the cars following it behind it, heading that way while we were going that way.
We had a friend we were actually following. He was going to work with us, and we were driving down the road, and he actually called me and said, "Oh my God, you're going to think it's a UFO." You know, we don't know what it was. Some people say it was a drone, a military drone that they were just transporting. I know what a drone looks like. I've seen many of them. It wasn't a drone. So I actually did some research on the internet and looked to see if anybody else had experienced the same thing. And there were actually a few stories of people seeing giant saucers on the back of semis and stuff like that. But we experienced the same thing, and yeah, we freaked out a little bit. We were pretty excited. That was his first experience with the UFO, and we wanted to turn around, but we didn't. I had the kids with me, so I didn't want to get them in any danger. So then we spent a lot of time in Missouri looking up at the sky. One day we were out there, and my aunt, however you want to say it, had come outside and said, "That's a UFO." And when I meant UFOs, it was flying really fast. Some people would say it's a satellite, okay? Maybe. I don't believe the satellite thing is real, but okay, we'll go with that. So it's flying across the sky, and she said, "Well, if that's a UFO, then that's one too." And I look over, and there's one right behind it. Okay, so we got two what look like stars flying across the sky. And you were out there, we were all out there. We were tripping, okay, because they were flying across and they stopped, just froze, and just sat there like non-moving stars. So we're all out there just freaking out. After maybe 5 minutes of sitting there just like that, they disappeared. But right in between them, another star blinked real bright, and it shot across the sky maybe this far. I mean, not literally this far, but if you look up, it looks that far. Okay, so it shoots across the sky about that far, and it just disappears. Gone. And we watched nothing. So after that, we're excited, and I went on this telescope spree. You remember how many telescopes we had?
We had a lot in storage too.
Yeah, we would just buy. I got on Craigslist and just started buying every big telescope I could find. All the big lenses and everything, so I can see as far as I could see. And I just study the stars every day. We would go over to my grandmother's house and help her every night. And she's older, she lived by herself. And we'd go over and help clean up at night and feed, and, the stuff like that. But then at the end of the night, about 8 or 9 o'clock, I would go outside and I'd stare at the sky till about midnight. And I'd just sit there and stare. I mean, literally like a robot. I'm just staring. You remember that? They'd be out there on weekends with me. And cold, hot, didn't matter. I was staring. And I would see things. And what I mean by things is I could point out stars shooting across and stopping. And I'd run inside the house because it felt like they were coming after me. And I'd see one like up here, and it'd come down, and then it'd come towards me. So I'd run in the house, and my brother's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, I saw something." He's like, "You're out there looking for stuff, and then you see it and you run inside. What's the point?" So, it was kind of funny. But anyways, so it kept happening. One day I decided I wanted to have somebody out there with me because, I'm telling all these people everything I'm seeing, but nobody's seeing it. So you remember how many times we used to look for UFOs?
We still do it, like when we're outside chilling and you just look in the air, stare.
I mean, if you don't look up, you're not gonna see it, and that's what I tell you too, right? You got to look. If people say they don't see anything because you don't look.
I started believing when I saw that giant thing And then I started learning more about all that stuff. And then when we were in Missouri, I started believing ghosts, and now I'm believing aliens.
When he means ghosts, he's had some experiences as well. We've been to several houses where we've taken pictures of orbs. We've been in one room and looked over and seen a Coca-Cola on top of the refrigerator just go flying off and going across the room. Hearing noises, TVs coming on and off at 3 o'clock in the morning. They would see things. I didn't see anything that they were seeing, but scary, huh?
Mm-hmm, I got chills up this fun.
Yeah. So one day I was watching this video, and it's this guy in, I think, Mexico, the prophet something, I can't remember. But anyways, he used to talk about, he'd stare at the sky and he'd see orbs. And these orbs would appear whenever he asked them to appear. So I thought, if he could do that, I can do it too. So I would sit there and talk to the sky. I mean, it seemed crazy, but, I think if you look hard enough, you'll find it, or it'll find you. Thanks for being here with me, buddy. Love you.
Love you.
Say bye.
Bye.
All right. So, I love you, buddy. My buddy Stedman comes over. Stedman's a really big guy. I'm saying like 6'5". At the time, he was probably maybe 400 pounds. He played football for Missouri. He believes in a lot of supernatural stuff as well. So, but not so much the UFO part, as I gathered at the time. Now I know he does for a fact. He might have then, but I didn't really know. But so I go inside and I ask him, hey, why don't you come outside with me? I want you to check something out. He's like, oh man, I gotta go. I'm like, no, just come outside for about 3 minutes. That's all I need, 3 minutes. For months earlier, I had been out there for hours and hours just staring at the sky, and things would appear. And it would, sometimes it would just be a light shooting across the sky and it'd stop and disappear, or it'd shoot across the sky and disappear. Now some people say, okay, falling stars fall and disappear. Okay, I get that. Fallen stars fall and dissipate. They fizzle out. Okay, this is not what I'm talking. I'm talking about a light that just appears, shoots across the sky like a star, stops, and sits there, and then just goes out. Now, days earlier, my grandmother had asked me to watch this news article that came out. And I guess some kids had went out and they were stargazing, amateur astronomy class or something. And they're stargazing and they saw something. One of the kids said he thought he saw a new star, a new planet or something. And they looked at it. They had it on the news. And it was shaped like a V with a bright circle, okay, at the point. So this thing that had shot across the sky and froze, they all looked the same thing. But later on the astronomy class said it wasn't a star. They didn't know what it was. It wasn't they didn't know what it was. And from the last I heard, they didn't. And I would assume they still don't. But so anyways, I'm seeing this stuff all the time, but now I want somebody else to see it. So Stedman, like I said, my buddy, and I had him come outside, and I said, just give me 3 minutes, because I guarantee you I can just look in this area here. This is where I'm going to be looking. I want you to stand there and just focus. I'm going to focus too. 2 people, it should work. He's like, what are we doing? I said, I want to call a UFO. He's standing here, I'm standing here, and he's looking up, and I'm looking up, and I'm sitting there. All right. Now, here's what I want you to say. I said, just say, I know you're there. I can feel you. Please make yourselves known. Make yourself known. Make yourself seen. Something along that line. But be serious. No, do it like you're talking to something. There's something there. He's like, all right. There would be no reason he couldn't concentrate like that. Some people can't do it because they can't take it seriously. Everybody's got to be a skeptic, but they can't do their own research. They can't sit there. They don't want to believe what somebody else says because they don't see it. They don't feel it until they do see it and feel it, and then they're like, oh shit, you know. But why waste your time? Why don't you go ahead and experience it now? Be serious about it, and maybe then you will see it. Maybe then you will feel it. And this is what I'm telling Stead. I'm like, yo, man, just be serious. He's like, yo, I'm serious, all right? I said, all right. So I'm sitting there looking up. And so I look over at him. I'm like, you being serious? He's like, yeah, man, I'm serious. I said, man, you fucking around? Are you serious? He's like, man, I'm serious. Goddamn, man, leave me alone. I'm serious. Come on. You're wasting time. I'm like, all right. So we're sitting there both looking up at the sky. I mean, this is a big dude, all right? I mean, he's like up here. I'm down here. We're both looking up. And I got this joker out here looking at the sky, being serious, talking to something that he don't see, you know? But anyways, he's doing it, and I'm doing it. Sitting there looking up. Later on, I'll have him on the show and let him give you his full details on it. So we're both looking up, and I'm saying this, and he's obviously saying it too. And then we see a light. Now, it's not even nighttime yet, okay? It's like right there almost, okay? So we see a light, and boom, it just comes up. And he's not saying nothing. He's just sitting there, and I'm just sitting there. And we're both, I mean, I know he's looking at it because I'm looking at the same thing. And it goes like this, it goes like this, and it flies around like this, and it freezes and just sits there. I look at him, and at first I didn't know what to say, and man, before you know it, I was up off the ground. Not because it happened, but because somebody else experienced it with me. So now I don't feel like I'm imagining this shit. And he was just quiet. I'm like, dude, you see that? He's like, hey man, I gotta go. And he turned around and left. I ran inside, grabbed a telescope, told everybody in the house, they all come out there. We put it on there. I had taken the phone and put it to the telescope, and we filmed it. I mean, I don't have it anymore, but it happened. And then it disappeared. And that was it. Me and Stead didn't talk about it again for years. Matter of fact, after that, I hadn't seen him for a while. But then I ran into him a couple years later. And he told the same story, word for word. I mean, as soon as I introduced him, I was like, before we go anywhere, I want you to tell her what happened with the, at Grandma's house. He's like, what do you mean? I said, the 3 minutes I had you look up at the sky. He's like, oh, shit. He looked at her, he goes, you want to know? She's like, yeah. He's like, all right. And he told her the exact story I told her. After that incident, I kept doing it. I kept looking, and I kept talking, and I kept seeing things. But then it started getting like kind of weird. Like I would get outside and I would see something appear, but then I'd get like chills, like something was behind me, watching me. And yeah, it was spooky because it was always nighttime. So, you know, I'd go closer to the back door, you know, to the house because I didn't want to be out in the middle of the yard. And it's a big yard. And, you know, there's this big fence around it, big tree, you know, stuff like that. And but there was a big open sky as well. And right next to a train track. So I'm sitting out there and I get these feelings like I'm being watched. And then I'd go home and then I started feeling it there. Started getting feelings like I'd be sitting outside and I'd feel like something was on the roof watching me or something. You know, you know what I'm saying? People get that feeling, that instinct that we don't know we have, that we do have. So one day, I'm sitting there at my grandmother's house, and I was sitting on the steps. My grandmother's house had some steps that came down from her top floor. She has a balcony, or patio, however you want to call it. It has a patio, it wasn't a balcony. And the patio had stairs that went down, and then I could sit on the steps and look this way and see the yard. And there's a big fence, a big like privacy fence, big wooden privacy fence. And then over here under the patio is the back door that leads to the downstairs part of the house. And like I said, I told you I get these feelings that I'm being watched. And I look over at the fence and I see something, but I don't know what it is. I see something. It's like a blur. It is a blur. It's a blur. You got the fence here, and there's like a blur right there. Through it and see around it, but right on that one spot, like for instance, Predator, the movie Predator, when he was in cloak, he was clear. Okay, I seen that. It looked like something was hovering on the fence like this, looking at me. And I'm thinking, what is this? You know, what am I looking at? You know, I'm starting to get nervous here. So I kind of look out, you know, I'm like glancing. And then I look over and I felt like I made eye contact. Even though I didn't see no eyes, I just see a big, clear, blurry thing. So I look over and I see it. And then I'm thinking, you know, I need to run into this house. But now I'm thinking I got to open the screen door. And then I got to open the back door. And then I got to get those doors closed before that thing gets to me. So I get up, I stand up, and I do a little stretch. Oh my God. And I glance over like this. And as soon as I did that, it looked like this thing glided down it was shaped kind of like a stingray. Okay? And it glides down. And it's coming towards me, and I lunge this way. I pull this door. It was like in the movie The Matrix. I open the door, open this door, and I went flying in. And as I'm flying in, I'm slamming this door behind me. And just like the movies, every person in that room jumped up, and you know what they did? They ran towards the door to wonder why I closed it. Just like in the movies, you say, why would you run to the door? This guy just slammed the door and said, don't open the door, but yet everybody runs to the door. And that's exactly what happened. Everybody ran to the door. And I'm screaming, don't open that door, don't open that door. And I started praying. I know I was a Buddhist. I was running around the house looking for my Buddhas for protection. I'm praying. And I don't know what I saw. I know it freaked me out. I wouldn't let nobody outside. 2 days later, I jumped on a bus and went to Texas. I haven't stayed there since. I've been to visit my grandmother, obviously, but I haven't been in the backyard. What I saw, I don't know. I know one thing, it wasn't good. This, I felt fear. I don't know what it was. But then I saw this movie. Check it out. It's a really good movie. Odd Thomas. It's about this, watch the movie, but he sees interdimensional beings, which basically are demons, but they can go in and out from the different dimensions. And yeah, check that out. Are UFOs real? Yeah, I believe they are. I've seen them. I can't tell you what they are. I can't tell you if they're aliens or ETs up there flying around in them. Something is. Thanks for watching.